Alright, got a little cut off on the last video. I'm sorry. So we're going to continue off of contrast. And I was making an analogy towards food. If you ever have something really spicy, like chili, a lot of times what they'll do with something really, really spicy is they will serve it with a scoop of sour cream because sour cream is very, very cooling. So it can kind of help cool off your tongue while you eat something very spicy. It gives your mouth a nice little break. So you have that contrast of spicy to cool. So hopefully contrast is making sense to you. It could be a little hard to understand. That's why I spent so much time on it. Now, if we were in person, what's really cool is that you can see contrast of sizes with people's height. You know, we said contrast is all about opposites. Well, what's opposite of short? Well, the opposite of short is really, really tall. Okay, now if we have this guy right here, this is Inigo Montoya from Princess Bride. And we just have like a normal sized guy right here, right? But depending on what you put around him or who you put around him, that's going to change how you see him. So here we have him with a couple different characters. Remember, we said he's kind of an average sized guy. When we put him next to the character of Vizzini, and you just block this guy from your sight over there, but if we just focus on looking at Indigo and Vizzini, because Vizzini is so short, it kind of makes Indigo look a little taller. Okay, but when we put Indigo with Andre or Fezzik from the movie, his name is Fezzik, because Fezzik is so tall, it makes Indigo not seem as tall as he is when you set him next to Vizzini. Okay, and if you take Indigo, and you could cover up the screen with your hand and do this, and kind of play like cover up one person at a time and see how they fare. But if we take Indigo out of the equation and we just look at Vizzini and Fezzik, Vizzini will look like a little baby because Fezzik is so tall. And Fezzik will seem like even more of a giant when you put him next to Vizzini, because Vizzini is so short. So if we deal with these opposites visually, it can have a really big impact on what we're seeing. And this would have made a lot more sense if I could do it in person with you in a classroom. I do it every year and you really see it happen in front of you, but hopefully you can get the sense from this picture. Now here's some more examples of contrast. Okay, we have the same photograph. We just have one with low contrast here, and when we don't have a lot of contrast, everything kind of blends together and it all kind of seems gray. But when we boost up the contrast between light and dark, everything seems a lot more dynamic and it helps the picture really, really pop more. Okay, and as we're going through projects this year, contrast will make a lot more sense, but just for now, with this sculpture here, these sculptures, we have a lot of contrast. We obviously have black and white. We also have smooth, and we have kind of dilapidated. Okay, we have like kind of like it almost looks like it's rotting. Okay, we have very, very bumpy and kind of scaly with very delicate and soft. And it creates a big difference here. You know, it's almost this sculpture on the right, because of the way they sculpted it and the contrast of texture, it seems very pure and innocent and soft and almost ethereal, whereas here we almost looks a little scary and kind of intimidating, especially with that rough texture that we're seeing. It looks like snake skin or something like that. Okay, now our last last principle of design is proportion, and this one will make a lot more sense when we're studying faces and how to draw a face, as well as if we're doing some drawing with perspective. But for now, just remember that proportion is all about the relationships of sizes and of parts to a whole. Okay, it's all about size relationships. So typically, a fortune cookie cannot stand up an entire city and like tower over other buildings in a city. This is a play on proportion, which can be really, really fun. You can see we have other plays on proportion here. Typically, the neck of someone's shirt is not that huge. And typically, we don't have giants that can, you know, stomp on other people. We have a play on proportion here of sizes. But we can also pay attention to realistic, scientific, mathematical sizes of stuff. And this will play into when we're learning about how to draw a human face. There's rules and sizes of the human face, as well as sizes of the human body. Typically, whatever the size of our head is, if we multiply it by 7, that's about how tall we are. We're usually about 7 heads tall. Whereas superheroes, we can, or monsters or cartoons, we can tell that they're a monster or superhero or cartoon because their proportions are off. Their eyes will be like overly big, or their mouths will be super teeny, or their ears are, different or something. So that's proportion. Proportion's all about size relationships. So hopefully you took your notes, and this will be the end of this video. Sorry it took so long, but what can you do? Online learning. Have fun. Good luck.